We have a crazy day today and kind of not with the market. Basically, started off late last night. There was news that Hope Hicks, which was President Trump's maybe closest advisor, had tested positive for coronavirus. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. And so he went on TV and was talking about it. And he said he was getting tested. And this was even late at night. And it broke at like, I don't know, like if you're on the East Coast, you were sleeping most likely. It broke at like 10 o'clock our time, Pacific, and that he had coronavirus. So, word is, at this point, symptoms are mild. They're moving him literally as we speak to Walter Reed. And I think it's just, I don't even think that's his decision. I think that's pretty much the Secret Service and the government machinery as a whole. You just want to be prepared for everything since he's the president of the United States. So, with that being said, this is where you see right here where you see the big drop as far as everybody panicking, and then they realize that all the reports is he's doing fine and it's just a minor cold. Melania was positive, but it's a minor cold. Now, remember, we always talk about be fearful when people are greedy, and be greedy when people are fearful. It's been a long time since, well, not that long, I guess, but it's been a while since we've had a president where the subject of whether they're physically capable of doing the job on a particular day is there. We had an issue with Bush back in, gosh, I want to say '07 maybe. I forget what it was. And there was a question of whether he could continue because I know he was in the hospital. Prior to that, I think the one before that was Reagan when John Hinckley took a shot at him in 1981, which was kind of nutty. Which, by the way, one of my favorite stories of all time. He gets it to the hospital and he gets slightly wounded, and Nancy Reagan comes in, and the first thing he says when she walks in the door is he says, and no joke, he said this, perfect timing. He said, "Sorry, honey, I should have ducked," which I just thought was so funny. And you can imagine Nancy Reagan's eyes probably just blew up like crazy. So a lot of fear on that end, but again, be fearful when people are greedy and greedy when people are fearful. So you want to look at the market and see kind of what's moving. So overall, believe it or not, we see a lot of positive. There's a couple things that are trending a little negative today we'll talk about, but overall we see a lot of green here moving in the right direction, and that's a lot of just the market fundamentals, which we're going to talk about. The one big drop, at least in my portfolio, that dropped a little bit was Yuko, and it's mainly, that's an oil stock, and basically it's an oil exchange traded fund. So basically what it is they basically look at, I don't want to get too complicated, but they look at the current price of oil versus what the contracts are 3 to 4 months out. Well, it's the beginning of the month, and the CARES Act expired, so all the airlines basically laid off a bunch of people. I mean, literally just type in airlines in Google, it'll probably be one of the first things that pops up. It'll probably be all of the first things that pop up under news. And because they have to buy oil and gasoline and fuel and everything 3 to 4 months out. So they're probably not buying a whole lot because they just laid off a bunch of people. They're going to reduce capacity, all that stuff, because I guess they're not layoffs, they're furloughs. So you expect to see that one drop, and it dropped 8%, which is fine. It's honestly to be expected, but that's offset by a lot of positive in my portfolio. Houghton Mifflin, I always call it Hufflin Mifflin, but my wife always corrects me. Houghton Mifflin has been awesome this week. It's up, it was up 20 some odd percent yesterday. It's up 14% today. PBF is an oil stock. That's more of the drilling and exploration. That was up as well. PVAC's up 3%. That's an oil stock. So, they're drilling oil. They're not concerned about that. But as far as the oil purchases from the airlines, I think that impacted the Yuko stock. But as soon as they get a coronavirus relief bill for the businesses, particularly for the airlines, you're going to see this jump up again. So if anything, I might even think of buying more of this. I mean, I don't know. I was going to sell more of it later, but maybe I'll buy some more of it temporarily, get the price to drop, and sell it a little bit later. So we'll take a look at that. But that being said, everything's going up. The fundamentals are good. Last week we talked about, it was either last week or early this week, Florida opened up. I think it was last week. Florida opened up everything. Governor DeSantis removed all of the coronavirus restrictions for businesses, restaurants, everything. And in Florida, they have they do it a little bit differently. The laws they pass at a statewide level have supremacy over the county. So, like for example, if you decide you're going to, one county just says, okay, we're just going to get this in an incredibly draconian gun control measure. They can't do that in Florida because they cannot be any more restrictive than the state level restrictions. They could be looser, they just can't be more strict. And so in Florida, the same thing applies. So you can't have any county rules that are more restrictive than state rules. So that being said, that was a good harbinger. And I told you, I said one of the states is going to open. I think Indiana opened as well. I said one of the other states around them is going to open as well, because if you have people in Georgia, especially like let's say Savannah, and they say, well, Jacksonville's open, why aren't we open? It's just literally minutes away, more than a few minutes, but it's less than an hour for sure. Then, they're going to have pressure to do that. Well, sure enough, Tennessee, the governor, basically did the same thing. They ended all statewide restrictions on businesses and gatherings. So that's 3 states overall. So we start to see the dominoes fall one after another after another. And by the way, Tennessee is pretty much dead between Indiana and Florida. So we'll see what happens next. You might see Alabama. You might see Georgia. Remember, Georgia's governor was the first one to loosen restrictions. You might see Alabama or Mississippi. You might see Georgia. There's a Democratic governor in North Carolina, so I don't think you're going to see it there. You might see in Ohio. Ohio's actually been at very, very low numbers. We covered that in a previous video. So we're going to start to see these dominoes fall. And when that happens, the demand for oil goes up, so our oil stocks are going to go up. The economy goes up. Jobs are going up. But right now, I think everybody's just worried about, okay, what happens to President Trump? But the guy's a warrior. I mean, the guy doesn't even sleep. He's mid-70s, sharp as a tack, unbelievable memory. He has probably one of the best memories of anybody that I've ever seen. And forget about whether you like him politically or not. The guy, you go to his rallies and he rattles off these people and their names, and they're like, he went to Ohio and he rattles off the sheriff of some rural county. And I used to live in Ohio. And I don't even know the county, but he rattled off the name of the sheriff, pronounced it right, nailed the county, and he wasn't looking at a teleprompter. I thought for sure. I was looking to see, okay, is this guy going to be reading off a teleprompter? He was not looking off a teleprompter. So we'll see what happens. But I have a feeling that, at the end of this, if he comes out, perfectly fine, I think it's kind of going to be like the guy in a fight where, like, he doesn't really want to punch you, but then you, like, punch him in the face, and he's like, all right, now it's on. Like, I have a feeling if and when he comes out of this, like, healthy, you're going to see him probably more energized, even more forceful, and more just with a zest for everything than you've seen before. So overall, things are going really, really well, trending really, really well. Numbers are really low. Our California governor's an idiot. He decided, this is what's crazy. So we're going to pull up these. I'm going to show you one of the things that he did. I love California as a state, but the leaders are a bunch of morons, at least at the state level. We have some good leaders at the county level, but at the state level, we have a bunch of morons. So basically, he set up, the way it sets up is if you're a county, you can get on his little monitoring list super easy. I mean, you can basically sneeze the wrong way and end up on the monitoring list. But to get off, you had to have like 2 weeks of meeting all these different, you basically had to have a parlay bet, which in betting is like, you don't bet on one game, but you bet on 6, and you got to win all 6 to win the bet. If you win 5, you lose the bet. And so basically you have to run a parlay to get off his little list. Well, the problem is these people were getting off the list, and in my opinion, it's loss of control. If he's off his list, he can't really have much say in what they're doing. And so one of the things he said was he's going to look at the measurement of the Latino, Black, Pacific Islander, and maybe there was another one on there, and they had to be, they had to basically, you had to meet his requirements, but for those neighborhoods only. Well, the problem is when you look at the breakdown of this, especially in San Diego, and I don't know where it is where you are, but in San Diego, we have a pretty diverse population here. The Hispanic and the Latino community were hit particularly hard. I mean, they had the most deaths. Not percentage-wise probably, but they have the most deaths, the most cases for sure, and so that's kind of a problem. When we look at the geography, I mean, you're going to have a ton more, um, you just have a ton more Latinos down here than you do maybe up here. And it's not to say that it just goes high to low, because it's spotty, it's not consistent, it's not a straight line, it's not linear. But the people by the border that are living right by the border are mostly Latino for the most part. And he's like, well, we're not going to allow you to open unless you can get these people down, which is insane. All it is a power grab. It's him saying, okay, well, I'm going to make it even more difficult for you to get off the list, so you can come to me, get on your knee, and kiss my little ring finger, so I can retain power and influence. But overall, things are going well. Deaths are continuing to drop dramatically. We still have the ski slope there. Hospitalizations are a ski slope. 3%, which is where we were at last time. Cases are a ski slope. And then we look at the people who are the deaths. And again, San Diego Union Tribune, the paper here, does a fantastic job with that. They haven't updated anything since 9/26, which I think is kind of odd. I'm not really sure why. It's October 2nd right now, so we'll see where that's at. But everything's going well, but there's a bunch of irrational fear in the marketplace. So if you haven't bought anything, I'm telling you, buy it now. There's a link in the video description for your Robinhood app. If you don't have one, you get a free stock. There's also a link in the video description for our spreadsheet, which we're going to touch on. I'm probably going to take a good look at Yuko, because that's dropping down. And I know it's going to go back up as soon as they sign that the airline deal. But overall, things are looking really good. We're at about $84,000, and that's considering the fact that we have some stuff in the red right here. The only two that are really noticeable in the red for the most part are XAN, which is a commercial real estate REIT, which it's going to take a little bit longer to get back, fair enough. And then IVR, which is just, for whatever reason, it's dragged their sector. So, but other than that, things are going really good. The ones that we have that are in the red here, like even the 37% one, I don't even own a lot of it, so it's not really that big of a deal. And then ICAGI is the same thing. I don't really own a lot, so it's really easy for that to move up. But things are going in a great direction. We are basically doubling our investment, and that's with so much uncertainty and fear out there. So take a look and see if you want to buy something. I'm going to be taking a look at these 5 stocks, and I may look at buying Yuko. But if I do, I'm going to do a limit order. So I'm not going to buy it at $24.94. I'm probably going to set it if it goes down to and I'm going to make it earn the limit order buy. So I'm going to probably put it at 23. And if it goes down to 23, it'll trigger a buy. And if not, then I don't really care. I don't really need to buy anymore. I already have 10 grand that I purchased. So life is good. Enjoy the weekend. Padres are on in a half hour, or by the time you're watching this, it's 3:25 in the Pacific time zone. I'm going to be uploading this. So best 3 series. Hopefully things go well. We busted out with a whole bunch of home runs yesterday, which was fine because I was literally just about to choke them because they were swinging at bad pitches and they just weren't playing well. I think they were tight. It was the first time they were playing in the playoffs, and somebody punched the bear. Somebody poked the bear, and they went off and scored. They went off and hit 5 home runs in the last 3 innings or whatever. So we'll see what happens today. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.
To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website. It gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.